Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah. Look good. Looks good.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall.
I'm still around. Yeah.
Clay, you brought a guest with you. The one and only two-time Heisman Trophy winner, Arch Griffin.
I love it. You know why?
You're good because you can't punch that ball out, man.
Tim,
you cannot punch the ball out.
Let me tell you the best part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
The pork chops.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That is pretty.
Back when men were men.
Hey, yeah.
But I digress. You know, I never could grow thick enough to have pork chops. I always had, like, what would these be called? Lamb chops.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is we just got to watch Ohio State football practice. We're kind of coming to you live on tape from in front of Ohio Stadium, in front of the Rotunda, where on Saturday Ohio State will host its spring game, spring extravaganza, spring showcase.
That dude was 2 hours and about 15 minutes.
But we got to watch a practice that was put on every year. Ryan Day and his staff put on the Ohio State Coaches Clinic. They have been doing that for, 96 years now at Ohio State in some form or fashion. And we got to watch an entire practice, which is rare these days.
That's it.
But, you know, we've gotten to watch 2 entire practices.
Yep.
And the whatever you called what we got to watch the first 2 days of spring. Whatever that was called.
A half each time.
No, not a half. We got to watch like 20 minutes.
No. One day we were out there for an hour, I think. Close to it.
Well, we didn't get to watch any football practice. It always ended in period 5, and they do 18 or 19. But the bottom line is, what I saw today is very interesting. I want to touch on that a little bit. I don't want to do a practice report necessarily, because this is a podcast, not a newscast. But I tell you, every time I watch this guy now, number 11, Brock Boyd, freshman wide receiver from South Lake Carroll, and right smack dab halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth. Man, how was this guy ever a 3-star on anybody's ratings?
Yeah.
That's my take. What's your take?
No, I noticed him, and he was one of the 3 guys.
By the way, I meant that in a derogatory manner. He should have been 4 or 5 stars.
Right. And he was one of 3 guys that I saw returning punts today, including Phillip Bell and is it Desai Jones?
Yeah, Desai Jones.
But he caught it and he juked, and goodbye. I was impressed with him. Can I tell you? I talked to Pick Central head coach Jeff Lamonaco, and I said, "What's the biggest benefit?"
So did I, by the way. But go ahead.
There you go. No, that's good.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I said, "What's the biggest benefit to you?" And he says, "Clay, I would rather come and watch a practice like this than go to any clinic in the country. Yeah. It's the attention to detail." And he said, "We just can't do that in high school." He has 7 coaches, 7 assistants, and it's like he said, it's unlimited. He said, but I would peek my head, and listen in. And I noticed Cortez Hankton did that a lot because the field is surrounded by, how many coaches do you think? 400, 500?
There were at least, 400 or 500.
Something like
minimum.
that. Yeah. So he would coach his players, and then he would turn to the coaches, and you see what we did here, and he'd go the footwork. He'd say, I want their hands,
Yes.
So, and I think and I'm hoping Ryan Day said at the end there as they broke up, thank you for sending all your great players to this place. They don't get every one of them, but they get most of them. And I think that's the huge benefit to see. He's just watched the practice. The attention to detail is incredible. And I wish we could do the same thing, but it's tough on the high school level. But again, that's one of the biggest high schools in the state, and that's what they're up against.
Yeah, absolutely. The bottom line is, like you just pointed out, and I've got video coming up later on in the show here today, once I get to the studio. We're giving you a few of the secrets behind the scenes.
Right.
Secrets behind the scenes. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But, Jon Gruden spoke to the Ohio State Football Coaches Clinic last night. Second time he's done that since I've been covering the team. He did it like 15 years ago or something, 18 years ago when Jim Tressel was around. And the energy, the vibrancy of his presentation was lost on no one.
There you go.
Why that guy's not a head coach still somewhere, is beyond me. Yes.
You enjoyed it.
I understand. He had that joke last night about the fact that if you want to get a hold of him, you can get a hold of him at his Instagram site, Barstool Gruden. I think it's also on Twitter. But he goes, I don't do email anymore because that's, of course,
they don't have time.
Why he's probably
yes,
no,
right.
It's probably why he's not a
I
head coach somewhere.
That's
but
true.
It was really funny because his name has come up every time there's a big opening, including at LSU. This past time, and he had like 5 or 6 shots at LSU in his defense on his highlight reel that he was showing how not to do things and things like that. But what came through, and you'll hear me talk to him about this, is I taped the first part of his presentation. Didn't want to tape the whole thing because that's kind of proprietary, you would think, right?
Right, I got you.
But just the first part, and you can barely make out it's even him, with my GoPro camera shooting from 100 feet away. Right. But the point is, football is such a detailed game to coach and play, and it's such a cerebral game. That's what comes across. Such a cerebral game to coach and play.
And yet the masses think it's all blood and guts.
Just big guys lining up, running into big guys.
That's it.
With no plan. Well, we all know they have plans, but just the amount of time that he spent detailing the little bitty things that make or break a team, an offense, a play, is pretty remarkable. Ryan Day is the same guy. Ryan Day, they're not the same personality-wise, but he is such a detailed dude. Him being a head coach for the last couple of years now, a true head coach, has allowed him, for example, today, he's roaming the field. He's making comments to players and sometimes coaches between plays or between series, pointing out details, pointing out things he wants to be seen done in a certain way or with more attention to the detail. And I think it's made him and Ohio State football an even better team. I don't know if you agree or not.
Yeah, no question. And I've talked to you about some other coaches around the country who call plays, and yet they're missing half the game.
Yeah.
And they're not seeing how badly their defense is getting gutted because they're over there trying
Maybe they see it later on video, but they don't see it when it's happening.
But boom, it changes the game, and you've got to be around. I know he was roving, but he seemed kind of omnipresent around the quarterbacks and the receivers. I noticed in a red zone drill, just to give you some idea, and Julian Sand always looks good when he throws the football.
Yeah.
He had a nice corner route that went for a touchdown. Tavian took Chris Henry in the same spot, and Henry climbed the ladder, went and got it. I've got Tavian on a scramble, and then he threw in a crowd to the tight end Mason Williams in the rear of the end zone.
Right.
I think he's coming on a little bit. And Justin Martin, he's got some giddy up. He took off a couple times when he couldn't find anybody, and he can cover 25 yards in no time flat.
Big dude.
And he's 6'3"-ish. And the other great play I saw was him drop back, hit a sideline route to Brandon Ennis for a pseudo touchdown. I was like, this guy can sling it.
Yeah. I was impressed, on the defensive side by a bunch of guys, not the least of which is the guys in the middle. Now, they weren't playing big-time football.
Right.
They had the shoulder pads on and stuff, but they were, thudding, I think is the best way of putting it. Like you're going to see the first couple of series on Saturday in the spring game, you're going to see thudding going on. But the point is, that doesn't negate the effort that's going on, especially on the backside, with Peyton Pierce at linebacker. A guy that flashed today a couple times for me was the freshman linebacker, Sincere Johnson.
Okay.
I don't think he's in any threat of starting right now, but just his ability to get places. Garrett Stover, a bigger batter, as in sometimes bad is good.
Well,
a bigger batter version of himself at linebacker, the way he can cover ground, drop off, and things like that. And then, in the secondary, I think Devin Sanchez, man, is ready to make that. I think we've all got him penciled in as a starter, replacing Davison Igbinosun, but I really like what that guy brings. No wonder he was a 5-star.
There was one point when JJ caught a sideline ball one-handed and Devin was trailing or couldn't quite get there, and he could just tell he's like, I'm getting you next time.
I'm not sure that ball would have been ruled complete, but as I said to Wayne Stanley, who was sitting in the stands, as he was catching it, Jeremiah was sort of like tickling it with one. I've never seen that before. It's pretty sweet.
My favorite drill of the day, I've never seen this. Ryan Day's over there, he's going to blow the whistle. So the receiver's here. Yeah, receivers here.
Your head's really big in the camera now, but go ahead.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Receivers here, DB here, right back up against the camera, and a safety right there. He blows the whistle, and the DB's got to chase the receiver and either get in front of him to knock it away.
I like that drill.
I like that drill.
Yeah.
And that tests not only the receiver to elude two people, but that DB to try to
intercept or knock it down or whatever. And JJ excelled.
It's funny. It's funny. We're going to be talking about a lot of this stuff again tomorrow at about 2:30 or 3 o'clock. Don't you figure? Because we're going to, by that I mean we're going to see some things during the spring that showcase that people we're going. There are 51 new players out there. If you follow my drift, I mean
all spring.
People that nobody's seen play in Ohio Stadium before, either high school or transfers. And I think tomorrow, I think it promises to be very interesting, weather permitting, an exercise for even the fans. Like, who are these dudes?
I was just, at the very end, I said, I need to check out the O-line because, you know, and it looked like this was first team, and you may have seen it different, but it was Ian Moore, Luke Montgomery, Carson Hensman, Gabe Van Sickle at the right guard, and Carter Lowe at number 74 at right tackle. So
kind of expected. I mean, obviously Austin Cedarville can't practice or can't take part in drills, contact drills, and neither can Philip Daniels. But the bottom line is, I think that's been a blessing for this team now as you look at it, because Gabe Van Sickle is the first to tell you he didn't play that great against Miami. But by every stretch, he's had a great offseason in terms of trimming himself up, and he's had a really good spring.
Yeah.
You know, and it's helped him immensely in terms of opportunities that Josh Padilla has also been at.
You may have seen this at the 50-yard line or so. He was trying to stay out of everybody's way. Bennett Christian, who's been out for most
doing his sprints,
and he would truck it down 52 yards, walk it back, rinse and repeat. He's trying to get himself back.
I'll tell you another thing.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Another exercise that was impressive were Riley Pettijohn and Bo Jackson doing the same thing down at the end zone. The guys who aren't allowed to be in drills, contact drills. And and there goes Donnie Patko, guy who runs the show here.
Donnie Patko,
Ohio Stadium,
keeps it every building standing.
Yes, he does. But the bottom line,
go ahead.
That was almost worth the price to watch how incredibly gifted athletically both of those young men are. And of course, Riley Pettijohn, tough for him to be sitting out in the spring, I know, because he was going to vie for one of those starting jobs at linebacker. But you know what? You don't want to be out there with one arm doing it.
You know, yesterday I was killing a little time in the morning, went to YouTube, and it said, hey, watch OSU Michigan in 38 minutes or whatever. And just not only satisfying if you're an Ohio State fan, but Bo Jackson, I felt like he came of age, you know, and C.J. Donaldson, and the way they imposed their will, and even the network announcers said the same thing. And Ohio State said, we're back. And they started pushing them around in that final 8 minutes.
Yeah. Of course, one of those guys is gone now, C.J. Donaldson. But Jacoby Jackson, we haven't got to watch a lot of him. I thought he had a pretty good practice today. I'm talking about the transfer running back from Florida. So that's why, man, I keep going back to Saturday. It's going to be eye-opening for a lot of people about the new guys and how they fit in or how they've already fit in. I mean, John Walker and James Smith, the defensive tackles, right in there with Will Smith Jr. and that group at the defensive tackle spots.
Yeah.
You know, defensive ends.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen some guys step up, and I think they want to see even more of that. But Clay Russaw, like Larry Johnson says, you cannot discount his strength and athletic ability, his ability to go from here to there very fast, to transfer. Edge guy from Alabama. You watched him out there again.
A to B.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just going to be an interesting spring.
I wanted to ask you this, by the way, because you're doing a limited. You don't usually come on Fridays. They got to pay you overtime, or somebody does. Yes, sir. But I wanted to get your take on this before we're done here. Rick Bowness being re-upped as the full-time head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Number one, I wasn't surprised.
No, I wouldn't.
But then again, he's 71 years old. But hell, I'm 72.
Yeah. He's a young babe. Yeah.
You're 68.
Let me tell you,
my baby brother.
Let me tell you.
But here's the thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Did they almost have to do that?
Well, I think Rick Bowness had to do it if they wanted him back. You can't leave town with a trail of fire coming out of Nationwide Arena. You ripped them, but you didn't come back to fix it, or you didn't come back to finish it.
Yeah.
And
this is what I would do. Yeah.
What?
This is what I would have done. Yeah, but he's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Well, yeah.
Hey, you guys have a good luck.
And it's only a one-year deal, but obviously they must have talked out some moves as well. I would like to do this, this, and this. And Don Waddell probably, all right,
I would like to get
agree.
this, and this from a player standpoint.
And is the captain going to change? So much chatter about Boone Jenner, and where does he stand now in his career? He ended up playing fourth line toward the end of the season. So I want to see, they've got three guys probably that, they need to sign, and I think they will do so.
Yeah, but, do you get those kind of players? I mean, obviously, UFA, unrestricted free agent, there'll be some guys out there. And in hockey, you could find a guy, Wayne Gretzky, well, my point is Wayne Gretzky was great, right? But there are a lot of teams that build their hockey teams on what I would call just above average. They don't really strike your fancy, but they're role players. They know how to get the job done, and they skate all night long if you let them.
And the key is not to pay them too much or extend too far.
Correct.
A lot of these guys will get 3-year deals, not 6, not $7 million per.
By the way, the Bill and Doug show just finished taping behind us.
Outstanding. And, I know it was great.
Yeah.
Interesting. This was fun to be here. Can't wait for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And bring your gear in case.
Yeah. Your sun gear and your rain gear. And I want to ask you one last thing. So, what have you seen different about Julian, say, in the spring? I know we're going to get to watch tomorrow. But tomorrow he's going to be in a black jersey, just like he was today. But what has piqued your interest about the Heisman Trophy finalist? Where have you seen him, in fact, improve this spring?
It's tough when you only get to see them maybe 3 times, kind of going full, not even full go.
But we kind of got to watch the beginning. Remember the first couple of practices, but we didn't get to watch all the practices. But now this is near the end game. Tomorrow is the end game for the spring. I thought.
I go back to what I told you after the student appreciation practice. Quicker on his feet, willing to take off, get out of the pocket, don't take a 9-yard sack, don't get behind the chains, be willing to, as he did at Michigan, on one very key first down.
Yeah.
He took off, beat the guy to the sticks, and that was another 8, 9, 10-yard gain,
baby.
And that wins ball games for you. So I think, can he throw he's still great, lays it in there, but I just think his willingness and his maybe answering the call of his head coach to be more fluid and be willing at the count of 3. If you're not seeing it, don't throw it away. I mean, anyway, throw it away if you have to, but go get 4 yards.
I thought what I saw near the end of the actual practice, I was actually doing a radio interview with Bo Bishop at that moment, but and I even talked about it on the radio. They ran a true bootleg with him.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, he went around the left end, and I just went, yeah, that's what you kind of want to see.
Yeah.
Occasionally, just call a play where he runs.
Yeah.
And so
keep him honest.
The influence there of both Ryan Day and Arthur Smith, involved, because Ryan Day brought Arthur Smith in to run the offense, to get the running game part of the offense back to square one.
Right.
But then on top of that, like I said,
added a wrinkle.
Julian saying it's never going to be Lamar Jackson, and you don't want him to be.
Oh, that would negate his great ability as a thrower.
Oh, Lamar Jackson's a pretty good passer. Maybe I spoke,
sure.
but I mean, he's never going to be the runner that Lamar Jackson is. But you want him running some, and if they come out of the spring with just him with that mindset,
yes,
which I think they've gotten to. And I keep reminding people, man, Thad McNeil, one of my favorite guys I've ever run into, the Julian Saying head coach at Carlsbad High School. He was like Julian Saying coming out, and one ranking service had him like, I think he's the number 2 dual threat quarterback prospect in the country. So he can run, will run, but you don't want him running the wishbone. And I think they've gotten that.
Your Marcus Dupree.
Yeah. Read and feed.
Yeah.
Or read and flee.
But
the bottom line is, you know, I think that's a major development with this group because Tavian St. Clair can run a little.
Yep.
Justin Martin shown he can run a little.
He's got it.
So you've got to, if you leave spring with just other teams understanding, hey, Ohio State's now got quarterbacks that might run it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Add to the workload for the defensive coordinator.
Bingo.
Of the coming teams from Ball State to Texas to right on down the line. But anyway, we're going to get now to my. I had a short little interview with Jon Gruden.
Okay.
After the presentation last night, but right now let's just go to the beginning of his presentation and just kind of like hear the energy he brings to the room and the energy he kind of demands from the room. That's what I like about it. You know, it's almost like, am I watching Frank Caliendo or am I watching Jon Gruden? I mean,
I had to.
That's what's cool about it.
He stuck his hand out. I had to bow up because I know it was going. It was not going to be a limp fish, man. Yeah. And I gave it everything I had. But the
energy,
his aura,
is
what he's about.
Yeah, and his attention to detail. So without further ado, let's get to that and let's let my good buddy
get to my golf course.
My good buddy Clay Hall get to his golf course duties.
Coming to clinics my whole life. When I was a young coach, like a lot of you guys, I would go with my dad to clinics, try to learn something, try to get 1% better. And I heard Tom Landry, the old coach of the Dallas Cowboys, speak. And he got up on the board and he talked about preparation and presentation. They got to go hand in hand. Landry did extensive preparation, and when he had a chance to present in front of a group, he knocked your socks off, man. He drew the offense up in a certain color of ink, then he drew the defense in a different color, then he drew the blocking pattern, the route scheme in a different color. It was awesome. So in 1998, when I interviewed with Al Davis for the Raiders, Al Davis beat me up on this interview pretty good. He called me Butch. Hey, Butch, what do you think of this? Hey, Butch, what are you going to do on this? Hey, Butch, draw up your favorite 3rd and goal play from the 9-yard line. So I thought about that. I thought about Tom Landry. I drew the offense up in blue ink. I drew the defense up in red. And I drew the blocking scheme and the route combination in green. And Al Davis said, hey, Butch, what's wrong with the crayons? I said, I'm just trying to give you a color-coded presentation. He said, don't you know I'm fucking colorblind? Anyhow, I got to ask, you guys love football in here? Anybody love the game? Seriously. The only reason I came to Ohio is there's so many people here that don't like football, they love it. And when you come to Ohio State, you get around Ryan Day, you can say a lot of things about him. His offensive background, his winning history. The guy loves it, man. The guy loves it. He's in there working at it all the time. And I like being around guys that know what they're doing, know how to hire a staff. And Ryan Day, I thank you for letting me come to your clinic and speak. Jim Tressel was a guy I came and got to speak with at Ohio State several years ago. Big fan of Tressel's. He turned me down when he was at Miami, Ohio, but he did that for good reason. Great coach. I look at Woody Hayes, my dad coached at Indiana. I grew up wishing I could play for Ohio State. Coming out of that tunnel, man, watching, hearing that band, the tradition of Ohio State. I grew up in Ohio, watching Archie Griffin, watching Pete Johnson. You know, I saw Cornelius Green getting his face mask grabbed by Woody Hayes. Hell, you'd get incarcerated for that today. But here I was, playing quarterback at Dayton. I was a backup quarterback. I could only find one picture. But I wanted to get in coaching, and I followed Paul Brown. My dad was a high school coach. We loved Paul Brown. And chasing Paul Brown's vision of offensive football is something I've been after basically my entire life. I got to coach Bobby Hoying in Philadelphia. Got a chance to hire Fred Puggich as my linebacker coach with the Raiders, and Jack Tatum. He was one of my best friends when I was coaching the Raiders. But a lot of history at Ohio State. Ricky Dudley, Joey Galloway. Let's hear it for the Ohio State University for this clinic tonight. What a great job this is going to be. I'm going to go fast. I'm going to cover a lot of stuff, and I'll be here as long as the beer is here. So if you want to grab me, if you have a question, if there's something that resonates with you, don't hesitate to grab me. You can find me on Instagram now. You can only find me there on Barstool Gruden. You can find me there. I don't use emails anymore. You guys know why, right? So you can find me. And I got an FFCA. I got an office down in Florida. I collaborate with high school, college, and NFL coaches all the time. You guys are welcome there. But I love being around guys that love football, guys that are like-minded. And I think if you're smart tonight, you're going to go out of your way to make some friends, some guys in this room that can help. You can help each other along the way. We need you guys in this crowd now. I've been listening to Coach Patricia, Coach Smith talk about how you're the guardians of the game. Hey, man, I'm worried about young players. A lot of really good coaches in Florida are no longer doing it. They're tired of it. They're not happy with the direction of the game. We need you guys big time, I'm telling you. And I'm here to encourage you and challenge you to fall in love with the game. We need you guys big time. These kids need these lessons. They need to gain some work ethic, some mental toughness. They got to get the benefits of being on a team. And I'll stand up here and be on a soapbox for just a minute. I know it's a tough job. I know the parents can be a pain in the ass, because I've been one of those parents, and I definitely was a pain in the ass. There's pressure. There's budget issues. But I'll say this. When I was with the Raiders in '98, all I did that first year was sit around and bitch. I complained about, hey, we don't have any players under contract. We don't have any draft picks. Where's the depth on this team? I kept making excuses. And Ted Hendricks, you guys all remember the story? Ted Hendricks was sitting in the back of the room, and he says, why don't you quit bitching and just win, baby? Just find a way to win. So make a note of Ted Hendricks. And just think about that when you start complaining and you start, worrying about things that really are out of your control. Don't make excuses. Just get back to work and fight and find a way to win. It's the off season, and it's time for all of us right now to work on our scheme development. We got to work on our schemes, and we got to develop players now. We got to get guys' stances taught. We got to teach our routes. We got to teach our quarterbacks the snap count. But we got to work hard right now before training camp, developing players and developing our scheme. Yes? We got to do that. And, your weight room, you may not have the greatest weight room, but we can be creative. We can put together a training program to help our athletes get better, stronger, and more accountable. Yes? Think about that right now. What are we doing to get our football team in shape? We got to recruit harder now than ever. There's too many kids that aren't playing. Some of the best kept secrets are in the state of Ohio, and they're sitting in your classrooms. We got to get them out for football. You get one, you get one, you get two. Let's get another 150 to 200 players out for football. We got to get guys playing this game. Al Davis used to tell me about reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I'd say, what the hell is he talking about? He said, you can't go in there and just talk offensive football all the time. You got to take a good look at your punt protection. You got to take a look at your goal line defense. You got to take a good look at what we're doing in a 2-minute drill. And I started thinking about that. So I encourage you, think big. Start learning about different positions. And when you're with your team, don't just talk about one specific thing. Broaden their perspectives. I think it's really important. You can say whatever you want about Al Davis. He helped me in a lot of ways, and he was on my ass repeatedly. believe me. Think about your routine. I think Coach Smith did a great job. You know, how are we accumulating knowledge? I think that's really important for any coach. 1% of knowledge. Bill Walsh used to say the accumulation of knowledge is a powerful thing. So is the accumulation of nothing. So I challenge everybody, find a way to get film. Start working on your library, your cut-ups, your teaching materials. That's what makes your meetings powerful, man. And if you can find me on Barstool Gruden, I can send you some tape. If you give me an address, I'll be able to help any way I can. But I encourage everybody to start working on their cut-ups, whatever it may be. We have to do a great job with our instruction. Everybody knock on wood if you're with me. Everybody with me out there? Okay? You know, we used to install our plays on the computer. We had drawings. Think about how you can get in front of your football team and do 10% better at installing your offense or your defense. You want to be the best teacher on campus. You know, you want these players to not want to leave. And I think you got to really think creatively, how can you make your meetings 10 or 15% better? We don't stay the same at anything. We either get better or worse. So think about what you can do in that regard. I challenge everybody to be honest with themselves and don't be sensitive. Evaluate your football. That's what I do. I evaluate everything that's going on in our building, at least when I'm a coach. Evaluate it all. Be honest with yourself. The first thing is we got to eliminate bad football. We can say the NIL is this and the transfer portal is that. There's a lot of bad football out there that we got to eliminate, yes? We got to eliminate it. Bad communication. And I'm not calling out names, but I'm watching Georgia Tech. I'm watching this team, and there's a left guard and there's a left tackle. And those two guys got to make a fan call and get out there and block this two-look. Well, 3 times in one game, the quarterback is hitting the head. We got to communicate. We got to communicate. We got to get better at communication. Not to pick on LSU, but, you know, when you're playing cover 2, if you're a defensive coach, who's protecting the middle of the field? We got to eliminate bad ball busts in our coverage. And then if you want to play cover 3, I don't care if it's a fire zone, 3 deep, 3 under. I don't care if it's 3 sky or 3 weak. If we get beat by a smash route, we are going to have a new secondary coach quick, yes? We got to eliminate bad ball. And it's everywhere right now. When we play man coverage, keep your eyes on the luggage. And if you're the slot defender and you're covering number 3, what technique are we using? Put it on tape. What we see on film is what we coach. So let's get these coverages cleaned up on defense. There's too many big plays that are uncontested. And on the hard count, you know, I'm watching Ohio State film with Matt Patricia. They got a camera angle where it's almost like you're the official watching the ball snap. You see the O-line and the D-line begin combat. You can see pad level. You can see get off. You got to watch the ball on defense. And when the quarterback uses a hard count and the offense gets a free play, it's just god-awful what I'm seeing on. It's sickening. Is anybody getting sick out there? That's why I keep the vomit bags on the airplane. You know, you watch some of this stuff, it gets you sick. But I'm not picking on LSU, but I am picking on LSU. Who covers the back in the flat? We're paying a lot of money for these tickets, for these players. Now, aren't we, guys? We got to improve the performance. And I think it starts with us as coaches, making sure we're getting all the information that these players need. Think about your rush lanes on defense. I don't know if we have any stunts or any blitzes where we have 2 guys blitzing in the same gap, do we? No. But these are things that must be corrected. We got to eliminate what? Everybody together. You guys are not very enthusiastic. I can see that. Think about your pregame. You know, I can always look out there and see the other team coming out of the tunnel, and I can have a pretty good idea how we're going to play against them that particular night. You know, some teams, they got coaches that get all fired up. They're getting their guys ready to go. You got to have somebody on your team that gets jacked up. Look at this guy. That looks like me back in the day. I watch some of these teams are out there having a great time. They got their headphones on. They're playing basketball. You know, this is not, I think, good to get ready to play a football game. I remember Bill Parcells when he was coaching the New York Giants. Belichick was the defensive coordinator. I was with the 49ers. I saw the Giants come out of the tunnel in a single file line, man. And I said, holy shit, I better back up behind the white tonight. But I think you got to set a tone with every aspect of your football. How we train, how we condition, how we hit the field, how we communicate, and how we explain these coverages. Yes? Think about it. I watched Peyton Manning come out, and when I was doing Monday Night Football, I told our guys to always film the sheriff every game in pregame. And when you watch him come out of the tunnel, when you watch him prepare to play a game, and you look at the look in his eye, he wanted to kick your ass, man. It was personal. And I think that is the look that you want to have on game day. You guys love this or what? Is that great? So have a plan for all your players, your D linemen. What are they doing for the 7 or 8 minutes that they're out there? What's the tight ends and running backs and receivers doing? Redefine every aspect of your football. Now's a great time to do it. Your players will really appreciate it. I encourage you. I used to talk to our team a lot about players. I'm going to develop a player. And to do that, I need you to show me some work ethic. I need you guys to pay attention in the meeting room. I need you guys to bust your ass. We want players, pros, guys that would play for nothing. I want to be able to call guys up and say, hey, we're playing the Cincinnati Bengals on the Walt Whitman Bridge for nothing tonight. Will you be there? Those are the players. We don't want play us. We don't want guys that are bringing us down, that are making excuses, that are late. We don't want that. I think you got to really set a tone with what you're after and really take advantage of the players that you do have, put them in leadership roles, and give them that reward. I think it's really big. Your system right now, I think, needs to be evaluated. Where are you? Who's the quarterback? Who's the signal caller on defense? What kind of secondary do you have? And don't forget Tom Landry. It's about preparation and presentation. They go hand in hand. I've had a lot of coaches I've worked with, I'm being honest, that prepare their asses off. They be in there all night. I'm like, God, man, appreciate you working so hard. But when they install the game plan the next day, it falls flat. It's not interesting. It's too confusing. The presentation wasn't good, man. Then I've been around guys that don't prepare very good. They come up with this fancy color-coded presentation. That's a bunch of bullshit. That doesn't work either. You got to do extensive preparation. And remember Tom Landry. When you get a chance to present it to your team, knock their socks off, man. Get them excited about the game plan. Very important. Our series of offense, I'm not going to get into it in great detail, but perhaps these slides can help you. We did our offense in series.
The chart. But you've always been that way, right? I mean, where does that come from?
I don't know. I'm just lucky to find something that I love.
Yeah.
And I've been chasing it for most of my life, really. But there's no place like Ohio.
Yeah.
You look out there, you see these guys. I mean, they love the game. They know the game. They need the game. And if you look here, you see 1,000 different coaches. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you mentioned Gallion. I mean, that's in the middle of Ohio.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's right.
Stuff. So it's in your blood. But, you know, what I picked up more than anything else from that presentation, football is such a mental game.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the edge comes from, right? I mean, that's almost everything you talked about there. How long did it take you to seize on that? And how hard is it to convince coaches of that fact?
Well, I've been around some great coaches. I've been very fortunate, guys that helped me get better.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between a well-coached team and a team that isn't.
Yeah.
And I think leadership, motivating guys, encouraging guys, challenging guys, and being relentless with people is a hard skill to find. And most of the time, if you look for that, you find it in these football coaches.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm after.
We're done. Ryan Day, in one shot. Ryan Day. How good's Ryan Day?
Ryan Day Barber?
Yeah.
Shit, man.
No, Ryan Day.
Oh, Ryan Day?
Yeah.
I mean, look at his one-loss record. You know, he's just getting better, too. I think his greatest strength is hiring coaches, too. He can build a culture, but he's been able to hire great coaches.
Appreciate it, man.
Man, Jon Gruden, one of a kind. And what's he's one of those cool dudes, in my opinion, that don't come around very often, who are funny as hell and serious as a heart attack at the same time. I mean, because, you've seen videos, I'm sure, behind the scenes of him coaching. He does not tolerate mistakes. Yeah, and he went on to talk about how mistakes kill you in oh so many ways, and how he basically demands perfection at certain points in preparation for his teams, or has in the past. And it's just, I don't know, it was just cool to hear him speak again at the Ohio State Football Coaches Clinic. And so that brings us to the spring game. We only have a couple of minutes left here, and I'm back in the studio, obviously. My good buddy Clay Hall, as you heard me say to him, he took off to the golf course where he works every Friday, and therefore he gets yours truly and himself free golf on occasion. At least that's what I've been told is going to happen. We'll see if that in fact comes to fruition. I just want to finish this off by basically running a few sound bites from Ryan Day talking about what how this spring game is going to go, what he's expecting to see, what he'd like to see, etc. And then we'll move on. So let's number one, let's let him talk about what kind of format he's going to run. I think that's the first recording here. If it's not, I'll correct myself after it's done. But just what kind of format he's going to run in terms of real tackling and not real tackling.
Yeah, we'll do a game. We'll probably have a drive or two that will be thud, where we'll be tackling and playing a full game. So, we're excited about that. I think it's a great opportunity because of our numbers to let guys get out there and play in front of a good crowd. It sounds like we're going to have a good crowd. And, for 51 of our new guys, now I guess not all of them will be participating because a couple of guys will be dinged up, but that'll be their first time playing, in front of a crowd. So, great opportunity for all of them to grade out and finish off their spring the right way. And then that's, we've been grading every practice and really evaluating every practice. So I know that they want to finish this last week strong.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. This is your last chance to so-called put video on the shelf about what you're all about as a Ohio State football player. Your next chance will come, the first week of August when preseason camp opens, headed toward the season opener against Ball State. As I think a lot of people like to call that the warm up before they go to Texas. But every game is a chance to show yourself, to showcase yourself, and will be. Right now, it's just interesting to sort of formulate in your own brain what a starting lineup might look like for the Buckeyes against Ball State when maybe all the pieces aren't available, especially on Saturday. With your Bo Jackson and Isaiah West both missing from the running back room, for example. And we already talked about Austin Searveld and Austin Searveld and Phillip Daniels and Josh Padilla, three guys who are going to factor heavily into the offensive line play in some form or fashion. Searveld and, of course, Searveld and Phillip Daniels, returning stars. I don't know why I'm stammering so much. Ladies and gentlemen, when you cover a football team, it's not like covering a basketball team. You've got 22, 25 names really to remember when you talk about the starting deep snapper, the starting holder and our punter, and the starting kicker. And then, the 11 on offense, 11 on defense. I don't apologize for getting names mixed up. I call my grandsons by the other's name all the time. But it is interesting because Saturday, as Clay and I pointed out, there are going to be 51 players on that field who weren't Buckeyes the last time you saw the Buckeyes play, which was in the National College Football Playoff National Quarterfinals game. That's stunning. That's basically half your roster that you're going to go to war with in September. So I'm not the only one who's probably stumbling and mumbling and bumbling when it comes to the names. But, let's get to some more sound from Ryan Day on just, what's kind of expected, et cetera, from a spring game.
No, just another, point of evaluation on all the guys is really what it would be. listen, the running backs, probably won't have, 3 of those guys out there, maybe probably not 4 of them. Turbo is probably not going to make it. Legend's probably not going to make it. So we're down running backs. So, we'll have to throw the ball some, which is good for the quarterbacks to get the ball out of their hand and see how they handle the environment. And then, get a chance to see the ball with the wide receivers and see what those guys do. And then pass rush and pass protection. And so it'll probably be some of that. Not that we won't run the ball, but with those guys down, you probably won't get as much of that. So, but just to see how guys respond in that environment will be the biggest thing.
Absolutely. And, he's right. It'll be interesting to see how much running they do because they still want to they still want those offensive linemen, the young guys that are going to be in there, especially second and third team, who are going to be playing a lot. By the way, keep your eyes open for number 68, Mason Wilhelm, the son of Matt Wilhelm, a regular feature on the Tim May Show, especially during the fall. He's going to be on Monday with us, kind of recapping what he saw from a parent's perspective as well as a former player's perspective. And, he's been a helping coach at Lakewood St. Ed's for a couple, 3 years now. But just to get his input on what he saw, what he liked, what he didn't like, and kind of put in perspective what all this means in a player's college football career. Let's get one more soundbite from Ryan Day before we move on.
When we entered last year, coming off of the late season, finish, we finished on the 20th, and then spring ball was right around the corner. But what you realize is these guys coming out of high school really need to play. They haven't played at this level, and it's a big jump for all of them. So they need it. There are guys, however, that have played, 500 or 1,000 more snaps, 1,000 or more snaps. And so those guys really don't need that as much. But there's a lot of guys on the team that do. And so now that there's only one portal and you pretty much know what your team is at this point, it allows you enough players to get out there and actually, scrimmage. And we need to do that. So that's what we're going to do. But we'll also be smart and make sure we're not putting guys who will play a whole bunch of football out there, and risk any type of injury. But some of these guys do need to play, and then it gives us some feedback going into the preseason on how guys we can expect them to perform when they go into games.
Yeah, it's bottom line. I mean, like he said, reps are everything when it comes to football preparation. You can't spell preparation without rep. Or can you? No, you can't. R-E-P. But the bottom line, I'm just messing with you. But the bottom line is you need that. And for example, Tavian St. Clair, how much real football has he played in the last couple of years? Very little. I would not be surprised to see Ryan Day perhaps take the black shirt off of him, the black jersey off of him for maybe a round or two, much like he did with Julian Sayin in the spring last year, just because he hasn't seen that much live action football. I know some people get tired of my auto racing analogies, but I don't care. The bottom line is you don't know how fast a race car can go until you push that race car as fast as it'll go. And sometimes when you do that, you hit the fence. You just hope you don't ruin the race car when you hit the fence. But the only way to really judge football is playing it at full speed. And that not just for quarterbacks, but for everybody else. The pass rush is different. The run game is different. The passing game is different when you're going full speed. And that goes not just for the guys on offense, but for the guys on defense. And especially in the secondary. If you're getting a few reps, valuable reps against the number one receiver in the country, Jeremiah Smith, that is so valuable. Even if you get beat 4 out of 5 times, you're getting beat by the best wide receiver in the country. That's very valuable. And we'll just see how many even reps that Jeremiah Smith gets in this spring game. I would think it'd be few. But if they can cap it off like they did the student appreciation practice the other day, a week and a half ago, if they can figure out a way for him to make the winning touchdown catch, even though, of course, it was overruled 2 days later by replay, which, by the way, I still disagree with. I didn't think his heel touched the ground, but that's a argument for another day, which was basically an argument for like 8 days ago. But the bottom line is, yes, that'll leave the crowd murmuring one way or the other. And, of course, there's a chance of inclement weather, which is kind of like put a little bit of a cloud over this spring game. But, I could understand a fairly decent crowd being there only because, like I said a while ago, 51 new players, a new offensive coordinator, a new wide receiver coach. What are they adding? What are all those things adding to the sum that's going to come to fruition in late August, early September about what this 2026 Ohio State football team is going to be? And by the way, before I go, I hope people understand. I mean, I make a point of going to the Ohio State University Football Coaches Clinic every year because you get to sit in and on lectures from all of the position coaches. My favorite one I haven't missed for like the last 8 or 9 years is Larry Johnson. Man, if all of America, if all of Buckeye Nation could see him behind the scenes, what a treat. But that's an example of what I'm talking about. I mean, it was great listening to Billy Fessler talk today, talking about the quarterbacks and how he gets quarterbacks ready, and then the plan they follow through the week of a game week, and how it's kind of like learning from a fire hose of the first several days of prep before a game, and then he backs off in terms of that intensity, like on game day morning. And even on Friday, they call them the best Fridays in football. But all of the intensity of practice is kind of like comes to fruition on Thursday when they want to have what they call perfect practices. Even Jon Gruden talked about that during his talk about you want to see everybody on point, no mistakes, no balls hitting the ground in any kind of high speed drills or high speed run throughs you're doing. You want the plays run at a pretty good clip. You don't want anybody hitting anybody. I'm talking about on like a Thursday, because you don't want to lose a guy on Thursday that could play for you on Saturday, except by accident. And accidents do happen, especially in football. We saw that happen last year with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. So, but the bottom line is it was really cool listening to those guys. But, I put the little cover that they had for the clinic in front of me here in front of the monitor. Man, think about this year's clinic. You had two former head coaches in the National Football League who are now the coordinators for Ohio State. Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator, and Matt Patricia starting his second season with Ohio State, who have been head coaches in the NFL, much less highly thought of coordinators. Offense in Arthur Smith's case, defense with Matt Patricia. And then you had a guy on the speaking lineup in Jon Gruden, who's won a Super Bowl as a head coach. And he had Ryan Day, who spent a couple of seasons in the National Football League before coming back to college football when Urban Meyer hired him in 2017. And, of course, he's been at Ohio State ever since then. This will be starting his 10th season at Ohio State, his 8th season as the head coach. I mean, that would make for an interesting clinic no matter who else spoke. So, yeah, I was there. Wasn't in the front row, but I was pretty close to it and enjoyed every minute of it. I always do. So, you know what? Until Monday, we'll come back with a rehash of what many odds makers think is the odds-on favorite to win the national championship this year, at least as we sit today. Ohio State will come back with a rehash of what we did or didn't see in the spring jamboree, the spring scrimmage, the spring game, whatever you want to call it. Just hope Mother Nature stays away. She eyes it from afar and then brings in her lightning and brimstone and thunder, after the thing is done. And we'll get Matt Wilhelm's thoughts on it too. So speaking for my good buddy, Clay Hall, who is in absentia, and yours truly, we'll see you then.